Well, we ramp up now in terms of event risk. We're getting into the business end of the week. We're calling the market down 10 points or so, fairly flat open. We've got a little bit of a bid coming through in some of the bulks. Iron ore futures are up over 3%, a little bit of a gain coming through in steel and coking coal futures. BHP's ADR, as I say, is relatively flat on the session. I think energy stocks on the open will be pretty interesting. There has been a really strong move off the lows. There's been a lot of noise around Saudi output, which I think was misinterpreted. There's been some concerns about Iraq not potentially adhering to the set quotas back on the November meeting, and there's this general malaise or the feeling that perhaps we won't get the output cuts rolled over into the second half when OPEC meet in Vienna on the next meeting on May 25th. That poses a real risk coming through in the market, but there's been a really strong bid off those lows in the oil price, and at the end of the session we saw the API inventory numbers coming in with a sizable 500,000 barrel or so drawdown, and that puts downside risks tonight. Official Department of Energy number where the market's looking for a build of just over 2 million barrels of oil. So one suspects that that may fall, but the oil price certainly well off the lows, and it'll be interesting to see how the energy sector. Of course, everyone's really focused on the big event risk that we have. Tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock when we get the Fed statement coming through. We also get the start of the Dutch elections in terms of the first official numbers should be coming around 7:40 in the morning. That's what we're led to believe. Whether or not that actually becomes a market story is another issue for people to focus. But certainly the Fed meeting is the biggie. We also get the statement of economic projections at 5 o'clock, and I think that's going to be the most important thing. The Federal Reserve themselves are looking for the Fed funds rate to be at 1.37% by the end of the year. Will they move that up? I suspect they won't, but there's a lot of people positioned for an increase and a signal that they will look to hike 4 times. The thing that I invite everyone to understand is that we're pricing at about a 55% chance of a June hike, subsequent in the next quarter. Will the optimism from Janet Yellen in her press conference 30 minutes later, will the statement live up to those expectations that we're going to get a subsequent hike in June? If they're not, then I think the dollar will probably come under a bit of pressure. We'll probably see some buying of fixed income. You may see some buying of high yielding stocks. Banks probably come under a bit of pressure as well. That's going to be the main game in town. So let's have a look at what happens on the open. I think that's going to be really interesting because who wants to buy the market on open with this event risk ahead of us? But there's going to be a lot of people looking to hedge. So I think probably from around 10:15, the market could, or the ASX 200 could come under a little bit of pressure there as well. So watch the banks, watch energy stocks, watch mining stocks. They're going to be the big drivers of the market today, and that's really where we are. If you look at the Aussie dollar, big indecision. If you look at the daily candle, we've got an inside period, a big doji suggesting that there's indecision from the market. No real clear trade in the Aussie dollar for me at the moment.